Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Barber Shop Talk. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. And I got my boy, James Battle, with me this morning. We got one more coming in. He ain't here yet, but he'll be in a minute. What's going on, James? What's happening?
Not too much, man. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, man. We just gonna chat. But this is get it off your chest type Saturday. We just gonna get it off our chest. There's so many things going on, and we're gonna have some fun with it, man. We're gonna have some fun with it. A lot of guys had to cancel out. They got some personal things going on. Anybody out there that's going through something, we send our prayers and everything out to you. God's in control. Just remember, God's in control, no matter what's going on. So, James, let's get to people, who haven't tuned in that often. Let them know who you are, bro, and where you stand in this world, bro.
Well, I'm originally from Alabama, from Huntsville, Alabama. I have four girls. They're all grown now, so that's a good thing. I have 4 grandkids, and the oldest one is 13 now.
Get it right. 14. Get it right. Get it right.
Yeah, he just turned 14. Excuse me.
Okay. I said, get it right. Make sure you get it right. Get them ages right now.
Yeah. And so, I enjoy my time that I get to spend with them right now. And it's fun. I'm actually retired from work, but I'm still working. I went back to work again. So back working again. But I'm just out here having fun right now, man.
That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. And I think everybody knows me, R.W. Coolins. I do the Speak on the Show as well as Barbershop Talk. Me and OT do another one called Friday After Next. So, I'm close to retirement. It ain't there yet, but I'm at the cusp of walking out the door one more again. So appreciate you coming in this morning, man. But look, it's let's get this phone number out there. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. You want to call in, be a participate in what we're talking about this morning. Get something off your chest. Feel free. We're gonna just chop it up, man. But let me start with this, James. Because I know you, and I see a lot of your posts. And I know a lot of it deals with politics. A lot of it deals with politics and what's going on in the world and racism and different things like that, man. So I'm gonna let you start off. If there was one thing that you wanted to get off your chest this morning to let everybody know, other than, well, I'm not gonna say other than, because I think I know where you're gonna go. What would the one thing be that you think people need to hear and you need to get it off your chest?
I think for me right now, it is that we need to take this next election very, very seriously. I know every year we always hear, well, not every year, but every 4 years, we always hear that this is the most important election that we're going to have. But I do really believe this one is it because of what's at stake. We saw the attempted overthrow the last elections. So this time, if Trump gets reelected again or gets put back in office again, I don't see America being America anymore.
Wow.
And it really bothers me because I know that, especially for people that, especially people that served in the military, and I look at it from that standpoint because I served in the military, you served in the military, and we have been in countries where we have been helping them defend their democracies, yet we don't care about our own democracy. Or it seems like a half of the population don't care about our own
It's funny
democracy.
you
So,
say that, man.
yeah,
It's funny you say. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's funny you say that because I was
that's
thinking about this the other day. Um, when we talk about those who have served, and then we talk about the democracy of this country and what's going on right now with the election, with what Trump says he wants to do as far as an authoritative figure and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing to me to know that all these people that have served and have defended this country overseas, abroad, whatever you want to call it, are okay with that happening right here in this country. Knowing that he has this vendetta against anybody who doesn't agree with what he wants or what he says.
right.
I'm confused, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm confused that we have gotten to this point. That no people aren't speaking up more about the threat that this person poses to the democracy that we all swore to affirm and defend at one time, which he actually took oath and had the nerve to say last week that he didn't swear to defend the Constitution.
Yeah.
And nobody has a problem with that.
I
I,
I know. I agree. That's exactly where I feel because I work with people that are big supporters of him, that are retired military, that served, in the military, and sometimes we get into some really heated conversations at work, and but I think it's useful for us to have those conversations because I get to see where they stand. They get to see where I stand. I don't think either one of us are going to really change any minds or anything because their mindset is what it is. But I do question them about their their patriotism or their reason for even being in the military because we did, we took that oath, and that oath still exists. It's the same oath
yeah.
that is never changed. And so for me, it bothers me because I know sometimes I'll be posting a bunch of stuff on social media, and I know sometimes it may be a little out there,
No,
but
no.
I I just firmly believe in what I believe. It's kind of like, this week I posted something about what the Speaker of the House had to say about
Mhm.
the insurrection and how, if they were going to release those videos, and they're going to blur out the faces of the people that committed the crime. To me, that's a crime in itself. If you're hiding evidence of a crime that committed, was committed, then that's also a crime. But nobody is nobody's outraged about it. I mean, people are talking about it, but they're not outraged and calling for him to step down or anything like that. But he should, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And here's the thing: he said he want to blur out the faces of the people so the Department of Justice don't go after him. But the Department of Justice already has the videos.
Right. They already
So,
have them.
but see, this is where, and it's just like you were saying before. And no, don't quit posting. Keep posting. let me put that out there first. Keep posting because it needs to be put out there. But here's the thing: is that I think where people get caught up is because, well, let me ask it this way, and I'll say it this way. Think about how much the tables have turned as far as us as African Americans in this country looking and fighting verbally and however to support this democracy more than those who say that they stand on everything that this democracy is about. Because if you think about it, every time we talk about us and equality, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute, equality and things like that, it's amazing how we always get pushback of, well, the forefathers' intent was. But now, in this situation and what they're doing, the hell with the forefathers. We're going to overlook everything and anything and do what we want to do because we want the power. And it goes into what I wrote down. One of the notes, one of the things that I got to get off my chest is DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is something we've heard for a long time. But for most people in today's society, it means don't equalize it. That's what I break it down to. When you hear DEI now, it's don't equalize it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion does not mean that anybody is losing anything, but they put this propaganda out there that it is. And the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is to come up with a way that we can have an even playing field. Though it will never be even, is to get those who have been underprivileged per se to some kind of equal footing as those who have been with the silver spoons and what they call generational wealth and all that type thing. But when people hear it, the first thing they say is don't equalize it. We don't need equality. We don't need this. We don't need that. But at the same time, they're in an uproar because the former president has been indicted 90 something times, and they're upset because he's being indicted. But the rule of law only applies when it's people that look like us or those who are underprivileged. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And then the biggest criminals at this point, though they haven't been charged, are the ones that are legislating this stuff.
That's right.
The voting rights, the change in the districts and everything, because they know if they keep the districts the way they are, the Republicans would never win another election. It's been proven. It's been shown. I mean, this is it's the new Jim Crow.
Yep.
In a different process. And I say new Jim Crow, but it's Jim Crow. Let's just not even say new, because Jim Crow has been around a long time. It's still around.
That's right.
It's Jim Crow. Put it this way. It's Jim Crow in a suit. Back in the day, it was Jim Crow in a sheet. Now it's Jim Crow in a suit. That's the only thing that's changed, is the attire that they wear to impose their will on the people.
That's right. That's why I don't understand why we even still have the electoral college. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obsolete. Your votes, everybody's votes really don't count. But if like you just said, though, if we got rid of it, though, Republicans would never win an election. They would never win because they always
then it would go by popular vote, right? It would go by popular vote. Yeah.
So they would never win an election, and that's why they want to keep it that way. And because the argument that I always hear, because I have this conversation sometimes with people at work, and the argument I always hear is, I don't want our elected officials to only come from New York and California and the big places, And I'm like, well, that's not the way it's going to happen. If people in all of these other areas vote, their votes count the same as those people in those other places. I mean, people don't well, everybody don't automatically just decide where they're going to live. Some
exactly.
people live where they live, and they live there all their life. So Um, I don't know. It's so much stuff going on right now, man. It's just crazy.
Well,
But
and that's the thing, Battle. If people would sit back for a minute and stop with the blinders and look at the big picture, take the blinders off and see everything, yeah, you're not going to understand every bit and piece of everything going on, but you should have some knowledge of these things. And I think the biggest problem that I see is we don't pay attention. We don't pay attention until it's too late. And we've been doing this as a community, and I'm just going to talk about our community right now. We've been doing this as a community for a long time. And it leads me into what I was going to say now. We talk about politics and where we're not paying attention to politics and different stuff like that. However, we can sit on TV, we can sit in barbershops, we can do anything we want to do and debate about who's the GOAT of the NBA for
right,
hours and hours and hours. But when you bring up politics and you bring up what's going on in the judicial system and all these different things that matter to us because somebody in our bloodline has been either in the justice system punished, or they're still in the justice system being punished, or they're out of jail or serving their time and they can't get a job or anything like that. None of that is a discussion, but we're more concerned about who's the GOAT of all sports, who's the best team in sports, who's, you know, um, who's the better comedian, who's the better top 10 rappers of all time. You know, those are things, and don't get me wrong, I understand the conversations. I understand that. But why is everything with us, and I'm gonna go with us again, a competition? Why can't we all be great at what we do and just call it what it is? Why does it have to be the greatest of the great? You know, I've never understood that, and I guess as I'm getting older, I'm getting more cynical about it because my thing is this: me and you, I'll give you a promise that me and you, we're both in transportation. We've been doing transportation our whole lives. Let's just be real.
mm, right,
I've never in my life thought about, yeah, battles in transportation. I'm in battle transportation. He's doing a job out there, and I'm doing a job over here. Man, I'm much better than him. I'm greater than him at transportation. I'm the GOAT of this. You see how ignorant that sounds? Because the
yeah,
thing is,
yeah,
I'm doing, and I talked about it last week on my Mind, Body, and Soul. Your best is enough. Your best is enough, but we get into these conversations where we think that if you're not in the conversation of being a GOAT at what you do, then you don't
you're no
matter.
good.
You're no good. You don't
Right,
matter. And it's only in our community that we have these conversations. And the question I ask is, what is so important about being the best of all time and everything like that if you're not free because of how you look? Because you're not free to practice because everybody's a fan when you're dribbling the ball. But once the ball
right.
stops dribbling or the football stops being caught, then who are you? You ain't no different than me. You ain't no different than you. Ain't no different than my brothers. Ain't no different than you. It's all relevant, but we don't pay attention to that. And I'm not saying all of us. Let me clear that up. I don't nobody that at me today this morning. It's not
Yeah,
all of us, but we get caught up in this when we watch the First Take and what is it, Undisputed, and all these different shows that come on TV. And the main ones that are leading these look like us. They put us on there as pundits, and a lot of times we disparage our own people for the dollar. For the dollar,
that's right.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I've always thought that, that too, because we've all it's like it always got to be a competition between, you know us uh in our community. We It's always been like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think back, when I go back and I watch like old movies and stuff of even back in the slavery days, that's the way it was. they were always putting one slave against another slave to see which one is going to be the boss's favorite or whatever, and then it just goes down down the line and just keeps
Yeah.
repeating itself and keeps repeating itself. And now we, we're in this situation where everybody, well, I won't say everybody, but a lot of us, a lot of us, we just want to compete with each other all the time.
Yeah.
When and that's put us behind, I think, in a lot of situations too. Because when you look at some of the other uh, groups of people, they one of the things I noticed around here is the we have a lot of people from other backgrounds that can come together, start businesses, start all types of different types of organizations and stuff, and they stay together and they keep um, they kind of keep things in their community.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We don't do that very well. Every now and then you see it in some places, but as a whole, we don't do that very well.
Yeah.
You know.
So you mentioned I'm gonna say this facetiously, and I don't want nobody to at me again. But can you imagine during the times we were just talking about slavery, or when Martin Luther King was marching, and everybody's about who's better? We wouldn't be where we are right now if someone didn't say, we're going to follow him. We're going to let him lead us, rather than someone saying, oh, I'm better than him. Now, don't get me wrong. We know there was grumblings behind the scenes. We know there was grumblings behind the scenes. That's normal. But not to the point of, I got to be better than him because he's getting all the attention. Or why is he getting all the attention? I'm out here too. Think about it this way. If I'm, and I'm using this facetiously, if I'm a slave and I'm out there in the field and you out there in the field, and I'm looking over at you and your bird and your uh, bucket of cotton is bigger than mine because you pick a little quicker. Well, is this a competition or is this work? Do I need to pick a little quicker? Because the thing is this: we both slaves. We can't go nowhere. No matter how fast you pick it, no matter how fast I pick it, we still gonna be here tomorrow doing the same thing. And I bring that up to the day. No matter how much we want to compete with each other, we all have our own destiny that we're going to follow. We all have our own goals, our own dreams of what we want to do. And this competition thing, I think it erodes more at our base of who we are as a people than it does put us on this pedestal like the entertainers and different things like that. I mean, I just don't understand why. And I get these lists that they come out, the top 10 of this and the greatest of all time and all this. It's a conversation starter. But it went from a conversation starter type thing to an end all to be all. Because if I don't agree with who you say is the GOAT, then we just don't agree on anything else going forward.
Yeah.
It's like, bruh, it's a game. They're playing a game. Mind you, they're good at what they do. But come on, man. One injury, conversation's over. One mistake, conversation's over. But we don't look at it. I mean, and they don't go, well, I'm going to leave that alone. Let's go here, bro. Max trying to get in. I don't know. He's having some difficulties. Get it off your chest. That's what today is. 844-904-2665. 844-904-2665. Call in and get it off your chest. Battle, I know you probably feel the same way as me when I say this. But I cannot stand to hear people throwing the N-word out all willy-nilly. I can't stand that word. I cringe when I hear that word. And I got friends, let's repeat it. I got friends that use the word. And now they understand where I stand on it. I'm not trying to tell you to change your language or anything, but they apologize. if we're in a conversation and they say it. Okay. But eventually you have to ask the question, if it's where you got to keep apologizing, just leave it out the conversation. You know, that's the N word. Now let's talk about the women with the B word. I don't know when this came to be a great thing because I hear women, and I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here? You see it all over TV. And it goes back to what I said again. It's only the ones that look like us. And the media pinpoints it and they expand it out. And what they see in the media is who they portray us to be. So I say that to ask you this, bro. You're the elder statesman, as I always say. grew up in Alabama. Now, when people listen to what he says, when I say what he says, grew up in Alabama. that's enough for itself. The N word. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I hate it because,
Yeah.
man, when I was growing up as a child and a teenager, and especially when I was a teenager and going to school, and if somebody call you the N word, you fought. It was a fight
Mm.
because that was that word was, it was a derogatory term toward us. And I don't know at what point it became a term of endearment, is what I hear now all the time when people say it's a term of endearment. I don't think it's a term of endearment. It was meant to degrade us. It was meant, and most of the time when we heard that word, we heard something else with it, or we encountered something else with it. I mean, one of the worst things I can remember was me and my brother, me and my two brothers. I have two younger brothers, and we were walking one day. We were going from our house to the store. There's a little store down the street. We were walking, and these guys, it was a car of about three or four older, white males. They were probably in high school. We were probably in elementary school, and they just started shouting the N word at us, and then they had things in their car like cans. I guess they were drinking sodas or whatever, and they were throwing them at us and all kinds of stuff out the window. And I mean, we were little kids, but they were just trying to intimidate us. And they pulled up beside us, and they were just taunting us and calling us the N word. And I remember going back home after all of this, um, and I told my older brother about it, and my older brother knew who they were because we gave him a description of the car, and he knew who they were. He went to high school with them, so and he confronted them about it. And my brother was known around the school to to fight people all the time. So they did not want to go there. But it was one of those situations though where it always just stuck with me, you know, from that point. And from what I can remember all the time, every time that word was said, it was said from a white person to one of us. We didn't say that word back then to each other. We didn't call each other that word. It When we always heard it, it was from someone else, from someone white, and they meant it as a way to degrade us. And that's why I don't like it now. I never have. So
So it goes into what we've talked about a couple times. We always talk about how they're trying to erase history out of the schools, out of the textbooks, and all this kind of stuff, right? And we're pissed. There's a people we're mad that they're taking the history out of the schools, not teaching our kids the history and everything like that. But what you just explained is the history that we know of the N-word. And now we're using it, and I say we're as a community using it and trying to make it seem like it's a term of endearment, but have tried to erase all the history behind what the word stood for, what effect it had on us as a people, and how it still impacts us today. I've said this and I'll continue to say it. I don't use the word. I can't stand the word. But I always kept this in mind when I think about our ancestors, especially those who were slaves. People got to think that the last words that some of those people heard before they was hung, lynched, shot, drowned, whatever you want to think about, killed, just called killed, was not their name, but the N-word. And now we have people in the rap industry, the music industry, the media, entertainment, who have taken this word and made it seem like it's okay to use it. And we've bit off on it and chewed it up because it's a moneymaker. Not thinking about the history of the word, where you can't come out of your mouth and say that you're mad that they're taking the history out of the schools and out of the textbooks and taking books off shelves when we're still continuing to use a derogatory term that was used against us in our music, in our movies, and in everyday conversations, and think that it's okay. I got a problem with this, and I probably will go to my grave with this mentality, but I can't stand it, and I never will accept it. Now, as I've said many times, did I used to listen to music and lyrics with what? Yeah, I was a Tupac fan. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, still am. But it's hard for me to listen to it now because as I've grown and as I've evolved and I understand the history. See, when you don't know your history, you tend to overlook certain things. So when before I started reading and getting educated on these things, it was like, it's just a word. It's in the music. It's just a word. Then one day a light bulb went on and said, well, wait a minute now, player. What you doing? What are you doing? You're contributing to this visualization of who we are as a people because you're using the word just like everybody else. It's just, and that's why I asked you the question, because you're from Alabama. So I know you heard it. Now, mind you, people don't think about this, but in Frederick, Maryland, where I'm from, we heard it consistently as well. And it's not like there's pockets that haven't heard it across the United States of America. You can't tell me they are. When someone like Tim Scott comes out of his mouth and says, I was never called, you're a damn lie. You're a damn lie. You're a damn lie.
Yeah.
And I'll tell him to his face if I ever see him. He's a lie. Because any person in this country that is of color has heard that derogatory word used towards them somehow, some way, or if they didn't hear it directly, it was secondhand information given to them from somebody else that somebody called them that. And I stand on that. I stand on that. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, what I would like to know though is at what point did the term become a term of endearment? At what point and how did it become so mainstream now? I still can't remember, I guess, when that.
I don't think we will.
When that happened.
I don't think we can. The first time I ever heard it from someone that looked like me was Richard Pryor. That's the first time I ever heard it. And it was on his album. And I think the album was called That N-Word Is Crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was my first introduction to someone that I can recall now that look like me actually saying it as much as as other folks. And you have to ask, how did we get to that point? Because if you go back and watch movies like these were movies on TV. So you're talking about Cotton Comes to Harlem, Uptown Saturday Night, and everything like that. I don't recall those words being used in there. However, when you talk about the Mac, Goldie, the Mac, and that's when. But it's very interesting to try to find that out, because what we do, and a lot of people symbolize it with, is when NWA started.
Yeah.
That's when it became mainstream, I think. But before that, it was being used by us in different ways in movies and in comedy specials and stand-up and stuff like that. But then you have to ask yourself, what caused us to start using it that way? And you can't tell me that they, and I've heard people say that they were trying to take the power back for the word as a term of endearment, taking the power back of what it was used for and everything like that. Of all the words, why that one? Because I recall, if you watch a lot of the older movies, my brother, what's happening? It's now it's in. I mean, every third word is the N word in some of these conversations. And what's bad about it, I hear Latin Americans, Hispanic Americans using it more than us in these conversations, because they're comfortable using it in their conversations, because they're looking at it like, hey, it's cool. And then we got some brothers, let's just be real now, let's go down this rabbit hole. We got some brothers that allow others to use it because they're their quote unquote friends.
Right.
What the hell we doing? I'm just gonna say it like that.
I was just thinking, what if it wasn't that word? What if it was coon? That was another word they used to use toward us as derogatory. So what if everybody just walked around and called each other coon? Would everybody be okay with that? Or what if everybody walked around and called each other a slave? Hey, what's up, my slave? Or if we made songs about it or whatever. I just don't. I don't know, because all of those words are derogatory.
It don't pass the smell test, bro. It don't pass the smell test. Right. Brian Hoodie, you took the word. I was about to say this, bro. I'm glad you said it. You don't hear white people embracing the word honky or cracker.
You don't. No.
And when's the last time you heard somebody say that? It faded out. It faded. Even with us, we used to say it back in the day, because if they called you the N word, you called them a honky or cracker or whatever. But that's faded out. We don't use that no more. So thank you, Brian Hoodie. It's just, but like you said, if it was a different word, I think we would still be, me and you, as far as what we're saying, I think I would still feel the same way. It's just like, and everybody knows this, when I hear somebody call another brother that they don't agree with a sellout, or Uncle Tom, or any kind of derogatory term, it feeds into what we're talking about. When did we get to the point where we can't agree to? Can you think? Watch this now. I'm gonna bring this up. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., did not see eye to eye on the way they were going to handle what they were handling. I don't recall reading, watching any interactions, or even when they're talking about each other in an interview, them referring to each other in any derogatory terms. Other than the fact they didn't agree with the fact of the way they were going about their business. Nonviolence by any means necessary. Those were the only two differences that we ever heard about. Now, behind closed doors, we might have been some things going on. But like everybody always says, your parents used to say, we don't fight in front of them folk. We don't do that in front of them folk. And then people would be like, why? If we're going to be ourselves, why can't we be ourselves? There's a certain standard that your family would instill in you to uphold the name of the family. Because there was a certain amount of pride. Now let's go here. There was a certain amount of pride that we took with who we were in this world, in our families, when we were representing who our DNA was when we walked out that door.
Right.
And the ones that get the most popularity in today's society are usually the ones that use it with no regard. With no regard.
That's right.
That's the ones they put out front. That's the
right.
ones they put out front.
It's so many things have went that way. You know, I one of the things that I can get off my chest is
let it ride, bro.
Young brothers, pull your pants up, man.
Are they still doing that?
Man, yeah.
Oh, I'm asking, bro. I'm asking.
Put on a belt. Put on a belt, man. Pull your pants up. I don't get it. I don't know. It don't look right. I don't see how it feels right. It makes seem like it would be difficult to walk with your pants, down like that. But I don't know. Maybe I should try it and see.
No, don't do it, bro.
But
don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, man. We say we're old school, but I don't even think it's an old school thing, Battle. I think it's a pride thing in how you present yourself, because you are a representation of who you are from the time somebody lays eyes on you. And this is not, and I want to make this clear when I say that. It's not that you're trying to impress anybody. It's about the pride that you have in your appearance of who you are, how you carry yourself. We get so caught up in, well, I'm not changing who I am for the white man, and I'm not changing who I am to impress nobody. It has nothing to do with that. When our mothers got us up on a Sunday, or school day, or my mother, I remember she used to say, before you leave this house, before you do anything in this house, when you wake up, brush your teeth, wash your face, comb your hair. Mm-hmm. Brush your teeth, wash your face, comb your hair, and get them boogers, them eye boogers out your eye. That was the key. If you came downstairs and you still had them things in your eyes, you ain't washed your face. That was a dead giveaway. That's what they look at them corner of them eyes like, you need to go back and try it again. There's no pride in appearances now. Think about it. We got, and women gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna bring it up. We got women going out with bonnets on. Think about it. We got women going out with bonnets on. We got, and the bad thing was back in the day, it was about rollers in your hair when you went out the house. Yeah. Now they're wearing bonnets. Well, you went from one extreme to another. I'm gonna say we have started picking up the bad habits of other people by wearing pajamas to the damn airport.
Yeah, that's true.
We wearing pajama pants as pants now. Pajama pants.
Yeah.
When did we get to the point and I'm gonna go here. When did we get to the point as parents where we allowed this kind of thing coming out of our home? When did we get to the point where we overlooked what was going on when our kids walked out of our homes, where they're wearing pajama pants and house shoes? There is a PMAC, pajamas and house shoes in the store. What are we doing? And I'm gonna say this, people can get mad about this, but I'm getting this off my chest, just like Battle is, because here's the thing about it. We got to stop tiptoeing around these things that we see as issues, because the more we tiptoe around it, the worse it's going to become. It's already bad. It's an epidemic as far as I'm concerned. It's an epidemic. But we got to stop. And the thing is, we don't talk to this younger generation like we were talked to when we were the younger generation. We're so afraid of what they might do. There's this fear that they're not going to respect you, or they may lay hands on you and all this. But until you take a chance to say, hey, let me holler at you for a minute. Young man, let me talk to you for a minute. Those are the conversations that maybe they're not hearing because everybody they walk past doesn't say anything to them. But as soon as they get past them, they say it to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I if you recall, there was a problem with people having dreads at one time. If you had dreadlocks, you know, it was a certain appearance that people wanted to uphold. And now there's a big thing about kids can't wear them to school. They're kicking kids out of school because of dreadlocks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, is that a little extreme? Yes. But we had to ask ourselves, are they being kept to have a good appearance? Or are you just going to say, I got dreadlocks and I don't care how they look once I get them? I just
Right. Let me tell you, this is kind of a funny story, I guess, but it's not really funny. It was serious back when I was growing up, but I think I was probably in the third grade because
Mhm.
Alabama was rejecting the the civil rights bills and stuff. So when most places integrated, the state of Alabama was refusing to integrate. We still didn't integrate till probably in the 70s.
Mm.
But when I started school, I went to an all black school. The schools was not integrated at that time. And when I was in third grade, one of our teachers, uh, she was tired of seeing some of the young boys come to school with their hair not combed. Of course, my mom was really strict, and she made sure that our hair was combed. But some of the kids that were coming to school did not comb their hair, and so she told all of the little boys in the class. She said, "If y'all come to school and your hair is not combed, I'm gonna put a red bow in your hair, and you're gonna have to wear that bow
Hey,
all day at school, and you got to wear it to school the next day." you know, so there were several little boys in my class that were walking around school all day with red bows in their hair,
mm.
and that didn't last very long before they.
Oh, I think we lost battle. Oh, you there? Okay. Oh, your mic is out. Your mic is out. Can't hear you. Mm-mm. No. Go out and come back in. Yeah, we lost battles, Mike. Let's go with P Mac. P Mac said most of our young black men don't even know how to properly dress for a job interview. Somebody ask this question, Mac. Is that our fault? Is that our fault as a senior statesman per se of these young men not knowing how to go about dressing for a job interview or to conduct themselves in a job interview? Where are we being held accountable for what's not happening with our younger generation? We got to ask that question as well. We have to ask that question as well. I don't. Then this is one of those conversations that, you know, go out and come back in, battle. Go out and come back in. It's one of those things where we have to sit back sometimes and ask ourselves, what part did we play? Do we play as the ones that are the senior statesmen in this conversation? We'll get battle back in a minute. Where do we, the ones who know, the ones who have been through the trenches, the ones that have had to do these things, when do we become mentors? And it doesn't have to be a structured mentor program for you to be a mentor. We can sit and talk all day about what this younger generation is doing, what they're not doing, what they need to do, and everything. But then you have to ask yourself, what are we doing to bring them along? Because here's the thing, somebody other than your parents in your home guided you along your way somehow, some way. So the question is, what are we doing and I'm guilty. And I always tell people I'm just as guilty. Where we get in these conversations or we get into the community and start helping these young men find their way, dress better, do the things that we know is going to help them long term, rather than us just continually disparaging them about why you got your hair like that. How come you need to pull your pants up? You need to do. We're always you need to do. But when are we going to get to the point where we're trying to get them involved and being a part of the solution rather than being a part of the problem? Because like I was saying, Battle, we can point out all the things that they're not doing, but what are we doing to try to help them along the way? And I think that's where we fall short, because we had mentors who weren't called mentors. They were just called uncles, people in the neighborhood, somebody's father and all that. We don't do that anymore. And that's where I get back to the point of pulling these young men aside and saying, hey, why do you use that word? That's a challenge I want to put out to everybody that's listening. The next time you hear a young man or a young lady, the derogatory term or the B word or the N word or whatever, pull them aside and ask them, why do you use that word? Do you know the history of that word? What makes you use that word of all the other words in the dictionary? Why that word? Is it because you want to fit in? Is it what? Because 9 times out of 10, they don't use it in the house. They don't use it in the house. They don't use it around their parents. So the question would be, now, if they're using it around their parents, 9 times out of 10, the parents probably use it around the kids.
Right.
We see the TikTok videos, we see the Instagram videos where little James or little Nuck or whatever is imitating what he sees from his mother and his father. That's an anomaly, though. That doesn't happen as often as we think. However, there are instances. But when are we going to have these conversations with this younger generation and pull them aside and say, hey, what makes you use that word? What makes you comfortable? Do you know the history of this word? What do we need to do to get you to the point where you start eliminating that out of your vocabulary? Because here's the thing that we don't talk about. They're not going to be able to use that in the workplace when they get out there in the workplace. And if they're in a workplace where they allow that, you might not want to be in that workplace because it's toxic. You know what I mean?
Right.
I Battle. I'm tired, bro. I'm tired. No, I say that facetiously, but I am tired, man, because when I sit back and I think about all the things we got going on in the world with, like you mentioned in the beginning, the politics, this next election coming up. And then we think about the other things that are affecting our community, which the election will, but it'll affecting our community like right now, not just the gangs and the killings and all these different things, but the things that are holding us back from being the best you. Where we got these youth out here that they're not misguided, they're not guided. I want to pull that out of there, because a lot of times they say, oh, they're misguided. I don't think it's misguided. I don't think they have guidance. If you're not on an AAU basketball team or a 5-star recruit football team, nobody's paying attention to those guys. The ones that fall by the wayside. And you got 2 extremes. You got the ones that are 5-star athletes, then you got those ones that are educated and going to college. What about the ones in the middle? What about the ones in the middle that don't know what their future holds? What about the ones in the middle that don't have a direction or don't have a plan? And what are we doing to give them a plan? I mean, it's the only thing we got for them to look forward to is getting a job at a fast food restaurant or working in an Amazon warehouse for pennies on the dollar or any of that kind of stuff. What are we doing to help them? I don't know. We talk about Deion Sanders, what he's doing in Colorado. Yeah, he's doing a good thing in Colorado. But that's an anomaly of athletes that are able to even have the view to go play for him.
Right.
What about us in transportation of the ones that had the opportunity to come work for us and then make it up? Because transportation, don't nobody want to drive a bus. let's be real. Nobody wants to drive a bus nowadays. But what did we do when we started? We drove cars, we drove buses, we drove tractor trailers, we drove wreckers, we drove dump trucks, we drove everything it was, and it was a career. And it still is a career. But those careers are frowned upon by the younger generation because we've instilled in them that And we say it out of our mouths. Nah, you don't want to do this. Find you something better than this. We're guilty of it. But what we don't think about is I retired from doing this. I'm going to retire again from doing this. But we put a black spotlight on the fact of don't take this route. You don't want to be a driver.
Right.
Are you serious? There's always transportation. There's transit systems. There's always transportation out there. But sometimes we minimize what we've been able to accomplish because it's not that glorified type thing, you know?
Right.
About I'm gonna put this back to you. If you could pull one young man aside, or a young lady, or young man, let's put it that way, today, and try to get them on the right track of from where they're at to where they need to be or where they need to go, how would you go about it?
Well, I would probably I would just pull them to the side, like you were saying earlier, and just try to talk to them. I'm trying to do that now. I mean, I'm going through that right now with my own grandson. I have my grandson is, I know y'all have seen some of the videos and stuff I post of my grandson playing football and my grandson playing. He's an exceptional athlete, but he can't stay out of trouble. He cannot stay out of trouble right now. I mean, he's in trouble right now. He would be playing ball right now if he wasn't in trouble. So, and I do everything I can to try to talk to him and tell him the right ways to do things, the right way to present yourself. Don't use those words like we were just talking about, everything. And it seems like right now nothing's really working,
Hold on once. I was going to ask you something. Hold on. I'm going to ask you something about that because you said he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
Right? He's a great athlete. So I guess my question would be, because he's a great athlete and he recognizes he's a great athlete, does that contribute to his acting out in the way he is of getting in trouble because he's looking at it where maybe his athleticism is going to trump everything? And I hate using the word Trump, disregard everything he may do for him to go to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes I do think that could be, a contributing factor, but I try to, I sometimes, because it has played out that way sometimes. There have been times when, he got in trouble or something, and then the coaches are like, oh, okay, but we're gonna let him play anyway. And I'm like, no, he ain't gonna play. Or my daughter would be like, no, I'm not letting him play because until he learns to behave, he's not gonna play. And then the coaches are pulling her to the side. Hey, we really need him today. Those kinds of things. And so, but luckily, the coaches that he have right now in school, the school coaches he has, they're holding him account. They're holding him to account right now, and I like that because they're not letting him play right now, and he's sitting at home with his mom sometimes because, and to for him that's punishment. So
yeah,
I'm trying my best right now, and I tell my daughter all the time. I say I tell my daughter all the time, I try my best to keep him and his brothers out of trouble because I don't want to see them get in the system.
right.
I see it every day. I mean, I'm a manager at my job. And one of the things that we do for everyone, because I work at an airport, everything that we do, any employee we hire, they have to pass a background check. You can't work at the airport without, and I mean, it's a strict background check. So, and I see young guys come in, young girls come in. We take them over there. They get their background check done, and they can't get a job because they have something in their background that keeps them from getting a job.
Yep.
And I mean, and it's disheartening because most of them look like me.
Mm.
Most of those ones that come in like that, they look like me. And so I tell them all the time, I do not want that to be y'all. I don't want, you know, you to have to go through that. So
Yeah.
I'm, sometimes I know they get tired of hearing me preach, but I'm like, well, I gotta preach because I just don't want, I don't want you going down that path.
That's the
So,
conversations that need to be had though. Because I tell my
oh yeah.
boys the same thing, and my boys are older. I mean, 30 something, 20 something. It's not like I don't know the ages. I'm just throwing the 30 something and 20 something. Y'all hold on now. But
Yeah.
but I tell them all the time, I say, hey, do not make a decision that will affect you from becoming who you want to become. Decisions are going to be made. You're going to make wrong decisions at times, but just don't make a decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life, where you can't get a job, or you can't get the job you want because of you can't pass a security background check. All those different things come into play. But we, being when we went in the military, so young, we didn't understand that. Because the thing is, at that time, you took the ASVAB test. I didn't even know you had to score a certain amount to get in the Air Force until somebody told me after I retired. I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? They were like, "You must be smart." I said, "Well, smart well." You don't think about it. I knew I was going in. I took the test. They gave me a job. I was gone. But then when they start doing those background checks for a secret clearance and all that kind of stuff, then your eyes open up to, whoo, because you hear other people that say, I can't get a background check. I can't get a secret clearance because something I did when I was 17, something I did when I was 18 before they came in the military. And now it's jeopardizing their career or being able to make it a career, because there's only certain jobs you can have where you have to have that secret clearance. And if you don't have it, you may not be able to do it. But we don't think about that when we're younger because nobody tells us these things. And that's something that, and you led into what I was going to say. Don't make a decision or don't make choices or want to be peer pressure guide you into making a decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And we always think the extreme of going to jail. It ain't all about going to jail. It's all about what's in your records. It's all about what's in your records and what you can do and what you can't do, or what you're not going to be able to do. Those are the things that, for me, the conversations that I think we need to have with this younger generation. It's just like with the N-word. Social media can be the downfall for a lot of these younger folks, because they're on social media. Look what happened with John Morant, NBA basketball player, flashing a gun on social media. He's still sitting out. He got suspended, 50 games, 25 games, whatever it was. Yeah. All because he was flashing a gun. Nobody questioned whether he was authorized to have a gun. Nobody questioned if he was a concealed carrier permit. None of that. He had a gun. It was the image that he was portraying by having that gun that got him suspended. Right. So those decisions, and then you had to ask, if he wasn't a pro ball player and who he is as far as the Memphis Grizzlies, would he still be in the league? Would he still be in the league to this day if he wasn't the John Morant we know as a great ball player? Which goes back to what you were saying about your grandson. Those coaches, and I'm going to put them on blast, that he had before these were enablers. And we see it all the time. They were enablers. No matter what he was doing, as long as he can run that football, as long as he can shoot that basketball, come on, mom, let him play. Let him play. He's our best player. We need him. But they don't say it that way. Well, all kids make mistakes, and he's going to do some things that, hell, little John over there, he did the same thing last week. Well, little John ain't a star. Little John ain't the one getting you 100 yards a game. So you don't care if little John play or not. But my grandson, you putting him in a situation now, I got to step in. And I applaud you for that, because a lot of people don't. They're looking at the long-term goal of NFL, NBA, college scholarship, all those things, but nobody's looking at by enabling those actions now. He may get a scholarship, but how long is he going to keep it? He may get to the NFL or the NBA. How long is he going to be in the league? Those are the things that we're not paying attention to. So I applaud you, bro, because we have to be involved in these things, man. And I'm sure your daughter appreciates it because you're talking about a woman with a boy. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole nother conversation for one of the other conversations we'll have on Barbershop Talk, man. But it was a get it off your chest day. Appreciate you coming in, Battle. Max, sorry you couldn't get in, bro. Appreciate you. But we'll have a whole crew next time. I think we're going to push it back to after the new year for doing another Barbershop Talk because the holidays, everybody got parties going on and, you know, want to get out there and celebrate and do your thing. Everybody do your thing out there. It's the season. It's the season. But don't lose sight of what the reason for the season is. Let's just be real out here, okay? Let's be real. Battle, I appreciate you, man. Any closing comments you want to lead the folks with? Because I know you're a Nostradamus sometimes. So go ahead and give them something. Give them something.
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, I appreciate being on the show today and all the times that I've been on there. But also just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And everybody stay safe. That's all I got to say.
That's it. Stay safe. And we'll be back next week. Well, let me get this out there. Friday after next, coming up this Friday. Me and OT will be on Friday. Don't have the time yet. Look for the post. And then Barbershop Talk. Speak on it next Saturday, same time, 10 a.m. since 7 a.m. Pacific. We'll be back with a Speak on it. We'll be talking about some craziness going on in the world and everything like that. So I appreciate you, Battle. Appreciate all the other brothers that couldn't make it today. You were here in spirit. I know some of y'all chomping at the bit because y'all couldn't get in on this this morning of getting something off your chest, but we'll have another one. So we'll get that together. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a safe and happy holiday, P-Mac. You too, the same, bro. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And we out. Let's go.
Thank you.